Amen. I want to say happy Mother's Day to each and every one of you that are out here today. And I thank God for this special day. I don't know what life would be like without moms. All the things that they've taught us. Moms do so many things for us. When you really stop and think about it, moms do so many things for us, especially when we were growing up. And so many times we overlook the things that moms have done for us in life, yet they're so important. I read this story, and I thought I'd share it with you, and it goes like this. It says, talking about a young man who had gotten his first job. And he had gotten his first job, and he was boasting about all the amount of work he did. He was telling somebody, he said, I get up at 5 a.m. every day and have my breakfast. The gentleman asked him, he goes, does anyone else when you get up when you do too? Oh, yes, he replied. Mother gets up, and she fixes my breakfast. And then she fixes Dad's breakfast. And what about your lunch? The boy said, oh, well, Mother fixes that too. Does your mother have the afternoon off all to herself? The boy replied, no, Mama cleans the house, looks after the other children. Then she gets supper for me and Daddy when we get home. Then we watch TV and we go to bed. What about your mother? What does she do? The boy replied, well, Mama washes clothes, then she does some ironing and cleaning for the rest of the evening. Then the gentleman asked the young boy, do you get paid? Of course, Dad and I get paid. We work hard. Well, what about your mother? Does she get paid too? The boy replied, does Mother get paid? She doesn't do any work. It's amazing how our perspectives change as we get a little bit older, doesn't it? I don't know about you, but I look at my life and I thank God for my mom. I thank God for all the things that she's taught me in life. And I told my mom she loved me so much that she left to go out of town for Mother's Day. I told her it was all about me. She should have been here. But as we get older, there's some things that we probably should say to our moms, isn't it? Like, Mom, you're right. Mom, I hope when I grow up, I'll turn out to be as good of a parent as you've been to me. Maybe we should look at our mom and say, Mom, thanks for all the things that you've done for me. Mom, I wish I would have listened more. Or simply just say, Mom, I love you very, very much. One thing that I've learned in ministry over the years is how short life is. Time is no respecter of persons. And each and every day that we have with somebody that we love, especially our moms as we celebrate Mother's Day, we should let them know how much we love them. I want to read you a passage of Scripture this morning. It comes out of Psalms 31. And out of Psalms 31, it really speaks of a wife of noble character, but it also speaks very highly of a mother. And I want to read you verses 25 through 31. It says this, she is clothed with strength and dignity. She can laugh at the days to come. She speaks with wisdom, and a faithful instruction is always on her tongue. She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat bread of idleness. Her children arise and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praises her. Many women do noble things, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive, and beauty is fleeting. But a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised. Honor her for all that her hands have done, and let her works bring her praise at the city gate. I want to tell you something this morning. A godly mother teaches us truly how to love. If you've been blessed with a godly mother, you will learn that your mom is really one of the ones who's taught you how to love. I sit here and I think about kids, and especially my children growing up. Of course, we have 3 boys, and I'll be honest with you, I prayed for boys. I prayed very hard for boys. I did not want to have a girl. You said, Pastor Shannon, I can't believe you say that out loud. I'll say it out loud again. I prayed specifically for boys. I believe I was blessed by having boys. You said, Pastor Shannon, why is that? Because I knew if I had 3 boys, I had to worry about 3 boys. If I had 1 girl, I had to worry about all the boys. And I can tell you this now, still to this day, God knew me and he knew my heart that if I had a daughter, I would not know how to say the word no. And I did. I specifically prayed for boys because I knew what I was getting into. I thank God for allowing me to be a youth pastor before I ever had children because I learned a lot. That's why I have no hair. I learned a lot. But I prayed specifically for boys, but I can tell you what, growing up with their boys, and I've loved every minute of it. I cherish every moment that Stacy and I have with their children. But I can tell you, growing up, I could take them hunting, I could take them fishing, I could take them playing baseball, do anything. But if there was one thing that I could never, ever do, when our kids ever get sick, they don't know the word dad. Have you ever noticed that when mom walks in the room, if a kid's sick, you are chopped liver? You can do everything that you try to do. I can remember there's times when my wife has been sick herself, and our kids would get sick. And you know how it is when you have a household. When one gets sick, everybody gets sick. Unless you're Tyler, because you eat dirt off the floor and tables and chew old gum and everything else, and you have an immune system of steel. But in our household, it's like if one person gets sick, somebody always gets sick. And I can remember one time specifically, Stacy was sick with a stomach bug, and then, of course, Sawyer, he always gets the stomach bug. When anybody else gets sick, he has sympathy sickness. And then I can remember he got sick, and Hunter was getting sick, and so everybody in my house was sick except for me and Tyler. So I'm trying to be a good husband and a good dad, and I said, come here, buddy, let me help you. I don't want you, I want mama. I'm like, your mama's sick. He's like, I don't care. I still want my mama. I don't want you. And you dads that are here, you guys can appreciate that. Why? Because mothers have been so loving and so nurturing. You know, I used to laugh all the time when our babies were first born. I told Stacy if it was up to me, we probably would have had 10 kids if they would have all been boys and they would have been born at 2 years old. Because when they were 2 years old, they could tell me they wanted to go potty, and they could tell me a cheeseburger and a Coke, and we'd be good to go. Those first 2 years of life, I think, are torture. Stacy said, that's the greatest years ever. And I'm like, no, the first 2 years, I don't understand anything. And she said, oh, they're crying because they want to be changed. They're crying because they're hungry. I said, no, they're crying because they're crazy. Children in and of themselves, they're just selfish people. And guess what? Sometimes without God, they grow up to be selfish adults. But number one in your outline, it says, there is no life without love. You see, honestly, life is all about love. And from a time a child is an infant, they begin to be loved and nurtured by their moms. You see, one thing we learn from Scripture, though, is God is love. And the most important lesson He ever wants us to learn in life is how to love others. You see, love is the foundation of every commandment. When you really begin to look back in Scripture, and if you look in Matthew 22, it says this, Teacher, what is the greatest commandment in the law? Listen to how Jesus responds. Love God with all your heart, with all your soul, and all your mind. Then listen to what He says. This is the first and greatest commandment. The second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law of the prophets hang on these two commandments. Love God and love others. He said, if you will do these two simple things, they're very simplistic in teaching, but very hard to do, isn't it? Love me, God says, and love others. He said all the laws hinge on these two things. But you see, learning to love is not always easy. As a matter of fact, I said earlier, we're selfish people. And it's not always an easy task. You see, we're naturally self-centered people from the fall that came back from Adam and Eve. We're born sinners, and it's all about me. You think about it. You go up to the nursery and grab one of those babies. When they're going to get hungry, they're going to start crying and say, you feed me, whoever you are. They use their diapers. Guess what? They're going to start crying. You change me, whoever you are. And I'm going to tell you, sometimes the stuff they eat in these baby food jars, it looks like an exorcism going on. There's things coming out of places they shouldn't be coming out of. If you're a mother or you're a dad, you've ever changed a kid's diaper, you understand that. And those smells, they're not heavenly aromas. I'm going to tell you that right now. You got an amen. You're holding the baby over there now, Courtney. It's all about me. From our childhood, from our nature, it's all about me. Except Jesus tells us we must move past self-centeredness, past our infant stage to maturity. You see, along the way in life, our parents teach us, don't do this, do that. Be polite. Open doors. If you're not teaching your kids that, teach them that. To love other people. To put other people first. In John chapter 13, this is what Jesus says. A new command I give you, love one another. This isn't a new command. He's been saying it from the beginning. He's reminding us, isn't he? As I have loved you, so you must also love one another. Listen to this part of it. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. Jesus said, if you want people to know who I am, if you want people to know the relationship I have with you, he goes, show the world that you're my disciples by loving each other. And I'm going to tell you what, sometimes it's not hard to love everybody. Sometimes it's very hard to love everybody, isn't it? Sometimes it's easy to love certain people, but some people are a little bit harder to love. I call them EGRs. You ever have those people in your life? It's called extra grace required. Now, you guys are looking at me like this morning, like, Pastor, we just love everybody. Don't lie to me. You know there's some people when they walk in the hallway, whether you be at work or sometimes even if you're at church, you see them and you do one of these numbers. Some people are a little bit harder to love than others. Can I get an amen? Sometimes it's hard to love certain people. As a matter of fact, nobody gets under your skin except for that one particular person. I told you guys a story about Ron McCarron, who used to come into my shop all the time. I never will forget old Ron, Stinky Ron. He came to my shop every day until God got on me. Every day he would come into our shop when I did plumbing. Smelled like a cesspool because that's where he just got out of. Stunk every day. And God told me, he said, Shannon, you got to love that man. You see, God wants us to have regular, close fellowship with each other. You see, we can't learn love in isolation. I'm going to tell you what, when life hits and life's hard, you know what we our natural tendency to do is to isolate ourselves. As a matter of fact, when something's going bad, whether it be with your family or anybody else, we tend to isolate ourselves. You know what God says? When things are going bad, surround yourself with people that what? Love you. When you see somebody who is isolating themselves, what do? You surround them with what? Love. Have you ever noticed a mom at a playground? I love going to playgrounds and watching little kids. And you ever see those little kids kind of standing off by themselves? That's one of the saddest things in the world. All the other little kids are running around playing, but there's that one kid standing by themselves. I couldn't tell you how many times I've seen a mom, sometimes not even that kid's mom, go over to that little kid and start a conversation. You know why? Because that mom's showing love. She doesn't want to see that kid what? In isolation. You see, we're to love other people, and no matter what's going on in life, we're to be Jesus to somebody else. Number 2, love lasts forever. Because Christ's love changed us eternally, relationships must have top priority in our lives. Now, we sit there and we begin to say, you know what, Pastor Shannon, what do you mean? When we begin to look at love and what really, really matters in life, relationships are what matter the most. Relationships must be our top priority in life. I'm going to tell you what, if you had a loving mother, one thing that you'll know is she always puts you first. I can tell you what, as a kid, I can remember growing up, we grew up dirt poor. We didn't have a lot. As a matter of fact, we were so poor, we didn't know we were poor. Some of you guys can relate to that. The old house we lived in didn't have insulation in it, didn't have heat in it. We heated our old house with a cook stove, and I can remember there were times that you guys have been there. There'd be one last piece of cake left, or last piece of pie left, or one last piece of chicken, whatever it may be, and you know your mom hadn't really eaten anything. And she would look at you and say, I'm not really hungry. I don't want it. You go ahead and take it. You guys remember that in your life? How moms were always giving? No matter what was going on in life, they were always going to give of themselves. You see, that's what moms are always about. You see, when we begin to realize, learning from our moms, how important it is to make relationships a top priority. You see, but we live in a different society right now. We often act like relationships are something to be squeezed into our schedule. As a matter of fact, we say this, well, I'm going to find some time for my kids this week, or I'm going to make some time to do this with this person or that person. We're going to make time for people. We give the impression that relationships are just a part of our lives with their many tasks. As a matter of fact, God tells us that relationships with life's all really about. If you look at this morning, and you look at the 10 Commandments, there are 4 commandments that deal with the relationship with God. The other 6 deal with our relationships with other people. You see, relationships, not achievements or things, are what matters the most in life. You see, sometimes we get so sidetracked in life that we think we have to build our career. We think we have to build our finances. We have to get the next promotion. We have to do this. We have to do that. And all of our time begins being spent on achievements in life, goals. If I do this, then this will happen. And we can get so busy in life, we miss the things that are the most important in life. I want to tell you this. Busyness is the great enemy of all relationships. We become so preoccupied with making a living, doing work, paying bills, accomplishing goals, that we totally miss the point of life, which is relationships. 1 Corinthians 13:13 says this, and these things remain, faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. I want to tell you what, love leaves a legacy. If you're sitting here this morning, you said, you know what, Pastor Shannon, I don't have my mom here. But I can tell you one thing, you could tell me many memories that you have of your mother. How she shaped your life, how she invested in your life, how she loved you. If you were blessed enough to have a godly mother, you could sit here and say, you know what, she always pointed me to Jesus. Mother Teresa said this, it's not what you do, but how much love that you put into it that matters. How much love do you put into other people? I'm going to tell you what, one of the saddest parts of my job is sitting by a hospital bed with somebody who's getting ready to pass away. Over the years, I've actually had the privilege, and it is a privilege to be there with people in their last moments. And of all the years that I've served, I've been by the hospital bed of many, many people right before they go home to meet Jesus. And not one time have I ever been there, I've had anybody say, you know what, why don't you bring me my diplomas? Why don't you bring me my awards? Why don't you bring me my bank statement? You know what people want in their very last moments here on life? People want people around them. People that they love. People that have invested in their life. People that have cared about them. You see, it's people that really matter the most. At the end of the day, when God gets ready to call us home, it's not going to matter what size of house you lived in, what type of car that you drove, what type of a bank account that you had. What's really going to matter is, what lives did I touch? Because if you're sitting here right now and you've lost your mom, I will guarantee you wouldn't care how much money she made or what kind of car she drove or what kind of house she lived in. You would do anything just to have one more moment with her. To simply say, Mom, I love you. You see, church, I want to tell you something. It's not just about loving our moms. It's about loving people in general. You see, third in their outline, it says, love measures life. One of the ways that God measures spiritual maturity is by the quality of our relationships. You see, when we get to heaven, God's never going to ask us about our careers. He's never going to ask us about our hobbies. As a matter of fact, when we get to heaven, I'm pretty sure God's not going to say, hey, what was your last golf score? He's not going to look at you and say, you know what, how much money did you give to the poor? You know what He's going to ask you? How much did you love people? God will ask us how we treated people, especially those in need. You see, the important things of life can be measured by this: time. Time that we were willing to invest in people. The more time you give to something, the more you reveal its importance to you. If you really want to know somebody's loves in life, if you really want to know what somebody cares about, get out their phone. If you really want to know who you are this morning, get out your cell phone. Scroll through the last couple days of people that you've called on your phone, people that you spend time with. You really want to know who you are? Look at your cell phone and look how many hours that you spend on social media. You really want to know what your priorities are? Take that time that you spend on social media, compare it to how much time you spent with God. Look at your phone calls, people that you're investing in, people that you love. Has your phone calls been all about work and business? Or have you simply called people to let them know that you love them? If you want to know what's important to you, go home and look at your calendar. Take out your calendar and say, you know what, where am I investing all my time? Start adding up your time and say, you know what, how am I investing my life into others? Pull out your checkbook or your bank card, bank statement. Where am I investing my money? You see, if we really want to know who we are, it's where we invest ourselves. And on this Mother's Day, I'm going to tell you what, I thank God that I had a mom who invested in me, that she loved me unconditionally. You see, time is the most precious gift we have, and we only have a set amount of it in life. If you want to know how to spell love, I'm going to tell you how to spell it this morning. It's T-I-M-E. Are you investing in somebody else? Are you giving them your time? Are you giving them your love? You know what? Growing up when I was a kid, I can remember one of the things I wanted to do for my mom, because you know how as parents don't always have a lot of time, do they? You ever feel like that you're running all the time as a parent, trying to get here and get there, to do this, to do that, so you can spend a little bit of time with somebody you love? Now, how many of you kids ever want to do something nice for your parents? Or adults, how many of you ever want to do something nice for your parents? Any of you teenagers ever want to do something nice for your parents? Raise your hands real high. How to raise your hand? I've got a list for you. We all want to do something nice for our parents sometimes because we love them, right? Now, all you parents in here saw your teenagers raising your hand. Make sure you got your list ready. I can remember when I was young, my cousin and I, we decided we were going to do something nice for my mom. We were going to paint her bathroom. Do you guys remember as kids the Harvest Gold sinks, the Harvest Gold toilets, and the Harvest Gold bathtubs? They were the ugliest things in the world. I don't know who in the world thought that was a good idea. I'll tell you, that must have happened around the 70s when there was a hippie stage going on. They were smoking some stuff they shouldn't have been smoking, is the only thing I'm going to tell you. That was never pretty. Harvest, and the green was worse. The avocado green. That makes absolutely no sense. Some of you guys are going back to your childhood now and reminiscing. Well, I'm going back to my childhood, and I remember my mom, we had the ugliest Harvest Gold sink and toilet and shower that you have ever seen in your entire life. So I remember my cousin and I, we were young. We were probably about 7 or 8, or maybe 18, I can't remember. Probably about 7 or 8. And we decided we were going to paint this bathroom for my mom. And my mom used to have Avon, sell Avon. Remember Avon? Every lady sold Avon back in the day. And I can remember she had this collection of fingernail polish. Now, when you're a kid, you see a medicine cabinet, it's like 2 stories high, and it's full of nothing but fingernail polish. I mean, it looks like it goes on for days when you're a kid. I mean, you just keep looking. It's like the more you look, the more Avon, the more fingernail polish you see. And I was like, hey, we've got all the paint we'll ever need. And so I can remember my mom was gone and my cousin and I for hours. We sat there with those little itty-bitty brushes, painting the toilet. We were painting the bathtub. We were painting the sink. And I'm going to tell you what, my mom was so impressed when she came home, she gave me a look she never gave me before. And I didn't want to sit down on that toilet or anything else for a long time because my backside was sore. But I look back at that now and we laugh. And it reminds me, you know what? How forgiving moms are. But you know what? And the whole thing is, she did laugh later and said, you know what? I appreciated the thought. The time and the effort that you went through. You see, your kids don't want to just know that you provide things. They really want your attention. Not just your kids. People in general don't just want things. They want your attention. They want to ask you this one question, especially to those of you in here Christians. Do you really love me? Do you really love me? If you really love me, you're going to give me your time. See, I'm going to invest in you, and you're going to invest in me. That's something I learned from a child from my mom. My mom's always made time out for me. Whenever I needed something to pick up that phone, she's going to be there and take as much time as I needed. You see, if time truly spells love, I'd ask you this question. How much time are you spending in other people's lives? You see, as Christians, God says, love me and love others. You see, we're called to love other people. We're called to invest our time in others. John 1:3-18 says, dear children, let us not love with words and speech. But I love this part. But let us love with actions and in truth. If you love me, you're going to give me your time. If you love me, you're going to invest in me. If you love me, you're going to take time out for me. You know what I've heard grandparents say so many times, and I believe it's true. How much more not much more, but how important that their grandchildren are to them. And I said, when I ask them a lot of times, what do you mean by that? Well, we're not trying to raise them, and we're not trying to make a living and do this and that and the other. We're simply there just to love them, to spend time with them. And my mom still reminds me of this day, I'm very lucky she didn't have grandkids first. She tells me this quite often. If I would have had grandkids first, you may not have made it. And I believe she's serious. I take that to heart. But you know what? Grandkids, we just love them. I was walking down the steps today, and was talking with some people. We're talking about grandkids, and I was talking with Wayne, and Wayne said, you know, he goes, grandkids, he says, kids are good, grandkids are great, and great-grandkids are even better. Even greater is what he said. And I said here, we laughed this morning, but you know what? Why is it that it's so easy to love grandkids? You know why? Because we realize something. You know what? We've lived life a little bit longer. We've matured, and we begin to realize something. Time's short. I spent a lot of time with grandparents, visiting people in hospitals and different stuff, and you know what they tell me? They always remind me, Pastor, life is short. The greatest thing that I ever learned from Pastor George in all my life wasn't some secret ministry thing. He told me, he said, Shannon, he said, your kids are only going to be little once. Invest in their lives. Don't get so busy doing things that you miss your kids. We can get so busy. I want to tell you this morning, church, from the bottom of my hearts. We can get so busy working, so busy trying to make money, so busy trying to buy that next thing, that we miss about what's important. We miss our families. You know what? Our kids don't care if your grass is mowed. They don't care if your car's dirty. They don't care if you're out here trying to make a little extra money. You know what they care about? Are you going to come watch me dance? Dad, are you going to come out here and go fishing with me? Can we go throw baseball today? Son, I got to go do this. Or daughter, I got to go do that. And Dad's busy right now. Mom's busy. And you know what they say? I don't want anything. I want you. I want your time. I never will forget a story that I read a long time ago. It was a little boy walked into his dad, and he came in there and he said, Dad, he goes, how much money do you make an hour? And the dad was sitting there working. He goes, son, I don't have time to talk right now. He goes, but Dad, just tell me, how much money do you make an hour? And the dad said, well, I have a very good job, son. He said, I'd make $50 an hour. Little boy says, well, Dad, he said, can I borrow $25? And he says, son, I told you I don't have time to mess with you right now. He said, I'm busy and I'm trying to get some things done. He said, Dad, but just please, can I borrow $25? He goes, son, why do you want to borrow $25 so bad? He said, well, Dad, I already have 25. He said, if you give me 25, I'll have 50. And I can buy an hour of your time. It's home, doesn't it? It's home. Dad, I can buy an hour of your time. See, one thing I learned about my mom, she always had time. She always loved me. She's always pointed me to Jesus. You see, church, I'm going to tell you something this morning. God's called us to love other people. God's called us to show love. And I'm going to tell you what, love starts at home. I want you to catch that this morning. Love starts at home. Lastly, number 4 is love gives focus in life. It's not diamonds. It's not roses or chocolates. It's desired attention, focused attention that people want. You see, we focus on what we believe is important. When we love others through Christ, our life comes into focus. You see, today I challenge you this as we get ready to close. Focused on what matters the most in life. People. How much does God love people? So much that He gave His life. You see, this morning on this Mother's Day, God's blessed you with life. He's blessed you with life. Invest your life in somebody else. Not only has God given you life, but I want you to look around this morning. You have a great big church family. You know, some of you guys didn't grow up around here and you don't have family here. Some of you guys don't have a lot of people in life, and this is your true family right here. If you're like I am, guess what? None of my family lives around here. You see my mom and dad a lot. It's because my dad loves my kids, so he comes to visit me. And I say that jokingly. He drives up here all the time, 2 hours one way, to spend time with me and do things. But Stacy and I were talking. Her family lives in North Carolina. She went to see her mom yesterday, and we don't have a lot of family here. But you know what? When we really look, we have a lot of family here. And we're so blessed to be here at Eastgate because each and every one of you are our family. And I thank God for each and every one of you. Whenever Satan's trying to tell you that nobody cares, or he's trying to tell you that you're all alone, remind Satan he's a liar. And if you're going through a hard day, and I'm going to tell you something, you just need somebody to talk to, call me. Because I want you to know I love you. And you've got people all around this church right here that loves you. And sometimes people just need somebody to talk to. They just need a little bit of your time. Not something that you can give them things, but give them a little bit of your time.